So Real Military is for agents that specialize in VA military clients.
Like instilled in me very young age that owning land, owning property was important.
And when I realized that being a commission base was something that like, oh, I could put this bad habit to good use.
Once you have the deck, you just push a button and everything works. It's like magic.
Yeah, that's what I need magic.
We're recording now, by the way.
I need like an office or a studio setup where I have like 3 different
Sets,
like where I can just turn and have like, oh, this is my TikTok set and this is my YouTube. That's what I need.
I've seen
this is my live set. I have another one over there with a chalkboard that I use on occasion. Then I also have screens that I drop down. Then I have one where I sit in the chair. Then I have one where I sit in the couch. And then this is all blacked out because there's a bookshelf that's being built right here.
Oh.
But it's all blacked out because it's
I have all
looking.
that too, except it's all my living room. I'm like, there's my couch in front of me. Here's a corner.
But you're in real
desk is
estate, so
over
that
there.
works. In real estate, that totally works. It's when you're outside of real estate, like let's say you're a tech pro and you're like broadcasting live from your living room. That's not a, but in real estate,
cool.
it's like, it's a house and you're a real estate agent. So it makes sense.
I'm doing things in a house. Shocking.
Duh.
You guys both sound great, but I feel like I'm always the one with bad sound. Am I sounding
No, you
okay?
sound good today.
You sound
Okay, sweet.
for once.
Ouch.
Nice burn.
All right. Who's got the guest today?
Me, I've got the guest today.
Nice.
I'm all about the guests lately. I've been just crushing it with the guests.
You have been questioned.
All right.
So
So
humble.
today's guest is famous,
Oh,
Wow.
like real famous.
not micro famous.
Yeah, way more famous than me. So they are a veteran. They were combat deployed with security forces. They are a realtor.
Okay.
Now I don't know which camera to look at because both are lit up. I feel like on the news, like, wait, which one do I look at? This one. So they sent me the bio, but it's so long and there's no way I'm going to read all of this.
A long bio would be great.
It's terrible. It's really not.
It's a terrible bio.
It's like it's the one you put in like your social media one. It's not like an intro onto like a show bio.
You're supposed to use their bio as inspo to come up with your own intro, not read it verbatim.
I
Rick.
may not have properly prepared. But so when they are not doing their real estate thing, they said that we can find them outside in the garden, taking care of their cats, chickens, and enjoying outside with their spouse.
Chickens.
Their life evolves around service, and let's welcome to the show, Miss Renee Zunker.
Hey. I knew, so she said chickens. I knew exactly who was going to be on the show.
It could only be one of a few people, right?
I had no idea.
That would give
what
it away.
chickens came in.
Did AI really write your bio? Is that what, I saw you in the chat say AI wrote it.
Yes. I am not a writer. I'm a great realtor. Writer, I am not. So AI did help me with that long bio.
I love that. Now
I'm
say
right there with you, Renee.
make it 20% this length, and it'll like whoosh.
Next time.
Ray, in your expert professional audio opinion, do we need to see if Renee has headphones, or are we good?
I can't hear us echoing.
Oh, she has headphones in. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's good.
I have headphones, yeah.
Okay, sweet. Welcome to the show, Renee. Thanks for making time.
Of course.
I know you're
Thanks
super
for having
busy.
me.
I know Renee is super busy because Renee is the one I see for Real Military. So she's kind of like, she's my other boss now.
Nice.
And she's cracking the whip and getting us into shape, getting Real Military ready to launch at One Real Rise.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, this will come out probably after that. So yeah. So here's a question. Is the Real Military for just military people, or is it to serve military clients?
Yes, and. So Real Military is for agents that specialize in VA military clients. Anyone who's a veteran spouse, active duty, they can be in the group. And then we also have what's called a passionate patriot category, where if you have a business catered around military, you're accepted as well. So we encourage everyone that kind of fits into that bubble to hop on in and see what we're all about.
And what do you call it? Passionate? What'd you say it was called?
Passionate Patriot.
Oh, Passionate Patriot. I thought you said Patchman. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So yes, passionate. I get Yeah, I was wondering because I started to join the workplace group for the real military. And I'm like, all this discussion is not pertain to me. However, we help a ton of people that are PCSing into the area because we have an Air Force base here. So, and there's actually an Army base here too. So we're always helping them. And I'm like, man, it would be great to get in that group because I could ask so many questions. But we have, probably about 10, 15% of our business is, working with veterans. It's not a huge amount, but we get a ton that are coming into the area all the time. They're asking questions. And so it's interesting. Well, that's cool. And you were what did you do in the military when you were there?
I was security forces. So that's kind of like the equivalent of like the infantry of the Air Force / law enforcement. Yes, I got to shoot all the really cool guns.
That's what I want to know. Okay.
I got to shoot all of the cool guns. Yes.
Did you get some really cool photos of like her all like, G.I. Joe'd out with her weapon and everything on, looking like a total badass?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You mean
Actually,
G.I.
funny
Jane.
story. Exactly, Rick.
Her too.
Golly.
Get it together.
We actually have, so my parents and my sister were all in before me. My mom was 30 years in the Army. My dad was like 22 in the Navy, and my sister did an enlistment in the Marines. And so when I decided to join the military, they were all like, listen, you have to go Air Force. They're easy. They're like the office branch. You'll get a chair. I told them that I put security forces down. They're like, that is not what we meant. So we didn't get a chair. I didn't get a chair with the, chair force. So I have a lot of really cool, fun stories. Loved my time in, but it was a interesting time, interesting challenges, and I'm just thankful for it every day.
I love that getting a chair was one of the deciding factors of that decision.
It's a real
One
thing.
of the
Yeah,
bonuses.
well, I wanted to join because the Air Force is known for doing canine. So they train a lot of the canines. They train a lot of the canine officers for like law enforcement in the area. So that's what I wanted to do was canine, but just, stuff happens and it didn't work out that way, and that's okay.
Your bio mentioned something about you kind of gave college a shot.
I went
college try, if you will.
I gave it a good old college try. Right. No, I gave it a good old college try twice, actually. I'm a 2-time dropout. Somehow graduated with a associate's degree in criminal justice, which you can see I am putting to good use today.
In ways,
yeah. So I have some skills. Not completing college is not one of them, but working on my broker's license now. So that is my redemption to dropping out of college.
I've taken that class and then I did not take the test. No interest in being a broker.
I did the same.
What a waste.
I did the same.
I figured I would get. I remember talking to him being old was not a bad thing, but he was a very old, wise man, and he told me one time, he was like, "There's nothing wrong with going and getting all of the education, but the moment you get licensed, now you can be held accountable because you're licensed in that,
Yeah.
And so they were like, just go take all the classes, like learn all the stuff. It's good info. Whether you want to be a broker, that's up to you. And so I've taken all the classes, but just chose not to take the test.
I did the same thing. I took all the classes and then decided, I'm just always going to hire. If I own my own brokerage and was not a broker, I just hired a broker.
Hired into the broker.
So, I didn't want the liability or anything like it.
What I'm hearing is a lot of excuses for failure.
No, I'm not a good test taker, but no, it's definitely not. That would be funny if we both took it and failed multiple times.
Right.
Like, oh no, I just never took it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a real estate agent, Renee?
7 years. So I feel like maybe last year was probably when I stopped referring to myself as a new agent.
Oh, really? Well,
I feel like, every year you just learn so much and have different years. So 7 years in the business now, I'm finally starting to feel like I know what I'm doing.
Well, and I guess you had a couple of years before the pandemic where it felt normal, everything felt good. And then the pandemic hit, and that's going to make people that have been in a few years feel like they're brand new again. Because that was a totally different situation than anyone had ever gone through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's no joke. Every year is so different that I feel like, especially because I've been to a few different brokerages. I've been at a bunch of different brokerages. So it just feels like every year is different. And so when the pandemic came and everything changed, I was like, okay, whatever, we'll figure it out.
Now, did you get into real estate immediately after the military, or did you have something in between?
So when I was in the military, I knew that I was separating. I knew that I didn't want to make it a career. So I spent my last deployment in Afghanistan. The whole time, I just had a Kindle, and I would take book recommendations from some of these other guys, and I would just started reading books on like investing, and they all had one thing in common: real estate. So I was like, okay, I will figure this out. I'll start from there. I never wanted to be a real estate agent. Like in my younger years, I never thought that that was going to be my path or anything I'd be interested in. But my last year that I was in after I got back was I was working 60 hours a week at Lackland here in San Antonio. On post, I would take my online real estate classes. And so by the time I got out, I had my license and I was ready to kind of start doing it as I was still getting a paycheck from the Air Force. So that was really, really helpful to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anybody here grow up wanting to be a real estate agent?
I didn't even know it was a real thing until about 15 years ago.
Until
No
15
idea.
years ago.
Seriously, I had no idea. I didn't know anybody that was a realtor. I was just telling my wife this the other day. When I was already out of the military and out of my college time. And I remember people talking about buying a house. I'm like, how does anybody save that much money? Because I still thought you had to have 20% down. And I'm looking at these prices. I was like, save $100,000? Like, I'm lucky if I get like $500 in the bank. Like, I'm almost broke. Like, how do you guys buy houses? So I never even thought it was a reality. Didn't know
Can you
any
imagine
realtors
had you
cost
bought
me.
back then? Because you were like looking at the prices back then thinking, oh, it's so high. So
Oh
high.
yeah, they were like $115,000. I'm like, oh my God, who has that kind of money?
Who has that? Yeah.
Now that's like a good down payment.
Right.
Oh,
Now that
gosh.
same house is probably 700.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah, no.
No, I did want to be a real estate agent growing up, but it wasn't the
Did you
agency
really?
part of it. Yeah,
Weirdo.
I know.
What about it? And what was the first influence of a realtor in your life? Were your parents realtors?
No, my grandfather was not a realtor, but he was the first influence. It wasn't really necessarily I want to be a realtor, but I knew I wanted to work with property because we would go down and hunt and I would walk the land with my grandfather and he would talk about everything you could do if you own the land and how land ownership was. So it was like instilled in me very young age that owning land, owning property was important. And then as I got a little bit older, I kind of started to gear towards stockbroker and investments, kind of like you. I was very interested in investments. I was like 12 or 13, 14. I started reading Beating the Street and was a nerd about it. And I can remember a project that we had to do. We had to interview someone who currently held a position that we wanted. And so I went to the local stock brokerage firm and I interviewed a lady who was a broker. And I asked her all these questions. And I asked her, like, if you could do anything else in life, what would you do? That kind of thing. And then the second half of the project was to do a follow-up interview with her 3 to 6 months later, towards the end of the school year. So I called to schedule my follow-up interview and they said, she's no longer with us. I said, what happened? Can you give me your info? This is for a school project. She's like, yeah. So I got her info and I called her and she was like, oh, well, after your interview, I really started asking a lot of questions and basically quit.
It made me question my whole life.
Wow, Ray.
So that was an
Way
interesting
to
back
go.
half to my report. And after hearing that, I was like, well, I mean, I don't want to become a stockbroker because she was telling me all the reasons why she didn't like it. She didn't like the industry and kind of why my interview kind of opened some eyes. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that, but I do want to work in investments. So much like you, Renee, I started reading other investment books and real estate was a big part of it. So I didn't know that I would be a realtor, but I knew that I would be involved in real estate somehow, like, investing or buying and selling somehow. And I think just kind of over time, the path led to real estate agency. Yeah.
And look at you now,
Look at me now,
Look at you now.
doing all the things.
doing all the things, walking the properties and telling other little kids about how important it is to own some land.
I kind of feel like 3 to 6 months from now, we're going to have to re-interview all of our guests to make sure that they didn't quit their current
Whatever they were
career
doing.
paths after
It was
talking with Ray.
Ray's interview that led me to quit.
Ray's interview skills.
Oh, man.
That's so funny.
Yeah, my teacher didn't believe it. She was like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, I'm serious. She's no longer there. And here's why. She was like, well,
And
just
it
put
led
that
her
in
to
the
question
conclusion.
her life. And then she started
Then my
teaching.
teacher quit. Yeah, sorry. Miss
Ripple
May.
effect.
That's funny. So whenever you started looking at real estate, What was the thing that said, okay, I want to go towards agency and not towards just buying, selling, investing? What was like the oh, this is going to be the way I do it?
I did not have the money to buy my own stuff. And I don't know, it just seemed like I'll just get my real estate license and try it out. And then I went to a couple classes and got all involved in, people saying how cool it was and how you could, niche down to military. And then, I started rethinking my process because at this time, when I got out of the military, I was 25. And by this time, I had already purchased my first house and turned it into a rental. So, and I used my VA loan. And so I kind of looked back on that process and was like, yeah, I guess it wasn't really that great. And there's a lot of questions that I had. So I used that experience to help build the process that I use now of having like education first so that people are understanding the investment that they're going into. And then I don't know, I just really liked the process. And I'm also a workaholic. I'm a recovering workaholic. So when I was prior military, I worked a lot as a waitress. And something that I really liked about working as a waitress is the harder that I worked and the more that I worked, the more that I made.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big contrast in the military because, like I said, I was working 60 hours a week. As a staff sergeant, I was making the exact same as a dude at dental that was getting holidays off, weekends off. He left early on Friday, and we're getting paid the exact same. I was like, this is bullshit. If I'm going to work this hard, I want to make a lot of money. And so, I mean, I would be lying if I said the money was not a big factor into why I got into and stayed in real estate.
The guy in dental is just hanging out, huffing the sleeping gas. He's just.
He's literally leaving early every day.
We all had those guys, right?
Yes. That's the kind of stuff that drove me nuts when I was working in hospitality. I'm like, all right, I'm over here trying to keep myself busy because I'm bored and I can't sit still. And then homegirl over here is watching Netflix and we're getting paid the same exact amount. What is the point? What is the point of doing this day after day? I'd rather do something where I know whether it's how hard or how little I work, I'm getting compensated exactly for that.
That's why I've only worked a very short time for someone else because I keep being driven to, well, there's all these things I would change, but I won't get paid to change them. And so
what's the point?
Exactly.
Why would I change them for someone else's business or for someone else's company? I need to just own my own company. I need to do my own thing so that I can change them and then get the benefit from them.
But that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around. Like if nobody in their family has been exposed to any kind of entrepreneurship and they've all been corporate salary type positions and that's all you see and that's all you hear and that's all your family ever knows, it's very hard for someone to let go of the safety of a salary in pursuit of something on their own. I mean, I was the same thing as Renee, military. And then I got into like a regular jobby job and I thought I'd made it making salary.
Jobby
right?
job.
Yeah, jobby job. I did the restaurant thing, but that was just a stopgap and like a filler for extra. That was never, it didn't click. That didn't send me to the entrepreneurship, pipeline.
Yeah.
It was just a stopgap until I got a better jobby job,
Yeah.
And so,
well, I actually saw. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, like what led me into real estate, like it terrified my wife. Like, wait a minute. Like, yeah, I get it. Like some of these guys are making really good money, but if you don't sell a house, you don't make any money. And there's still that little bit of fear today, especially with all the doom and gloom that everybody I know peddles on social media. She's like, are we going to be okay? I'm like, yeah, we can be fine. But there is that fear, of, yes, you can make whatever you want to, but the flip side of the coin, so.
The flip side of the coin, I think I had an example of that growing up. My mom, so workaholism is genetic, if you guys didn't know. My mom was very much a workaholic. And, I was being raised by a single mom who was a workaholic, but she was salaried. She was working 6 days a week. She was gone from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And, but she didn't get paid any more than the guy that clocked in at a normal time and clocked out at a normal time. So I kind of understood that was a possibility. And when I realized that being a commission base was something that I could put this bad habit to good use. Like it was like limitless amount of opportunity, I guess. And I had a really lofty goal right when I got in. Me and my husband were living in a home that he grew up in. And it was not something that could go on the market as is, if I am being honest. It was very old, and it was meant to last 1 year when his parents built it long ago. And so my big motivator was that I knew we were going to build a house. And so I was absolutely obsessed, workaholic. Like, I knew that building my dream house was on the horizon. I just had to get us there. And having that like carrot dangling at the end of the stick really kept me motivated in the extremely shitty first 3 years of real estate that everyone goes through. And it's hard to make it through those first years.
87% of people fail in the first two. So that's
hard. It is really hard.
Yeah. So it's usually that time when they have to renew their dues is when they're like, this isn't working.
Yeah, it's coming up. September 30th was our date. So there's a lot of people that, so we have a renewal date, and then we have a renewal and you pay a late fee date. So the renewal with late fees at the end of the year. But I had a question. So I'm looking for the video on your social media. Is it not on Instagram or TikTok anymore?
Which one?
It's on TikTok, but it's not on my real estate TikTok. It's on, if you search TikTok under Santa Clara Ranch.
Okay. I'm going to find it, and then I'll play it. I'll surprise people with it.
What is it up to? Like, how many millions now?
41 million.
There it is.
Whoa.
And I have 41. No idea, because the video itself is really not anything
hilarious.
Special. It's
we'll let people decide that for themselves. 41.1 million. I'll play this for everyone in just a minute, but
so good.
It's phenomenal.
Okay.
I should say, we were talking earlier. Maybe the reason why I had such a propensity to the like commission roles, because that's what my dad did. He was in sales, and so whenever I would work for someone else, I felt a little bit dead inside. Like, they're asking me to do this, and I'm only going to get paid this much, and I could do so much more. So you've been in the business 7 years. I'm looking at your social media. It doesn't go back 7 years. So when did you start to like post as a real estate agent and start to kind of, I guess you could say, attack the market that way?
Well, actually, it doesn't go back 7 years, because in 2019, my Facebook profile, which is where I get all of my business, was hacked, and I lost access to it. And I had spent thousands of dollars building my personal and professional pages. That is how I got all my business. And then I just got some notifications one morning that I lost access, and I spent weeks trying to get it back. I freaked out. I just it was terrible. Imagine your biggest lead source, your entire business. Someone just yanks it out one day. And that's exactly what happened. But when I was getting into real estate, all of my business came from Facebook. And so I literally just, like, from the beginning, I used to post a lot more. I don't quite as much anymore, but in the beginning, what really got me started was it was just sharing is caring. Like, my friends, luckily I was stationed here in San Antonio at Lackland. So all of my friends from being in the military were still here locally. And I went to high school just down the road in Schertz. So all of my friends that I had from high school were still here, and I just started sharing. And so, like, anytime I was going to a class, I was doing selfies. Anytime I was going to a broker open house, like all the busy work that you do as a brand new agent because you don't have any actual work, I would just post about that, and it was just enough real estate flavor to stay in front of other people, and just interesting enough to where my friends actually cared. Like, oh, look at what Renee's doing. Oh, I have a question about real estate. Let me message Renee. And that's literally how I built all of my business, was personal, friends, and family through Facebook. And it's really just sharing, not just listed, just sold, here's this property, but it's like, hey, I'm at an open house today, come say hi. Like, it's not really about that post generating business, but your presence generating business.
And was this something you did as a strategy, or were you already sharing life online and thought, I'll just post about it because it's kind of interesting?
Kind of both. Once I started realizing how well it worked, it became more of a strategy. And that's where I spent most of my time learning about social media marketing. All the podcasts that I listened to were around social media, not real estate. So it was how I almost made generating like organic social media content of just my life, which happened to also be obsessively real estate, sharing that, and just it kind of just like was this magic blend of like people actually watched it. I was organically sharing stuff, but it was real estate flavored. So it was so approachable to where any of my friends that had questions, whether they were in San Antonio or not, I was their first message. Like I've heard that from many of my friends, is
That's
that
cool.
they're out of state in other countries, or anywhere around the world, and I'm their first message because I'm just always in their face.
Do you still get a lot of business from Facebook, or has that changed over the recent years?
It has changed. It hasn't really changed as to where that is still like, I feel like I built a really solid base. I've gone through a couple personal things that kept me a little bit further away from Facebook, but it is still my primary source of business, is my sphere on Facebook.
When
That's
you're
cool.
doing your posting, is that mostly on like your business page, your personal page, combination of both?
Personal.
Personal.
All personal. I don't even do my business page anymore. I just feel like Facebook was so pay to play. It was either you make like Facebook ads and the business page and all that like a big pillar of your work, or I could focus on another pillar like open houses, and then it kind of double dips into personal Facebook real estate stuff. Luckily, I've had a couple videos go viral on Facebook. So I had the chicken one on TikTok, and then I had a different chicken one on Facebook. And so now I actually do have a lot of followers on Facebook. They all want chicken content, so it's really
That's
not helpful
hilarious.
for real estate. But
So you can also buy your own chicken farm.
Okay, so let me play this. Let me play. Yeah, she's like,
I
yeah.
have lots of chickens.
I want to play this video question. I feel like it's court.
Maybe
Let's play the
familiar.
video in
Yeah.
question so people can. I think I have the volume up here. Let me make sure. Okay, here we go. Let me know if y'all can't hear it, but you should be able to hear it.
Hear it.
Oh shit! Hurry, honey, hurry!
That's my favorite part. A woman possessed. Look at her go.
That is so amazing. I
Oh my
love
gosh.
this.
And
I've got
it's
so many
neat.
favorite parts on this too, because she's and then your husband's like, hurry, honey, hurry.
Right?
He doesn't go out. He's
No,
just
no.
like, you gotta.
But
I think he knows
He's seen this
supporting
behavior
him.
before. Yeah.
He's morally supporting. He's cheering her on.
Somebody points out in the comments that this plane flies over at the exact, one of the moments that you put your hands back out to go get the chicken. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
This
Yeah.
All right, so
reminds
for
me.
for the audio listeners, we just witnessed Renee jump off of her porch. What camera is this? Like a little security camera you have around the house? These two
We have,
CCTV
we have
type
a
cameras?
pretty robust security camera system. So, I mean, once I got out there and as I was walking back, I remember thinking to myself, I hope the cameras caught that, because that'd be really funny.
That would be really good. Yeah, you
And
were
little
actually
did I
perfectly
know.
in frame. Yes. Yeah, so we see her jump off the porch and then run through her yard. That was a pretty long run. That was probably what, 150, 200 yards? How far is that?
Probably. We have 5 acres, so our porch looks basically across the property. And so what had happened was I saw, so we have, we're out in the country. We have predators, we have hawks, and our chickens free range. And I saw a hawk dive down and was on one of my chickens at that moment. And so naturally, as any chicken mom would do, I leapt into action and had to save the day. And so
No hesitation.
one thing, no,
Like a
no,
child. Like just
yeah. No,
Gone.
so one thing I am is brave, when another thing I am is stupid, is that I will not think through any of these things. It's step number 1 and go. We've not thought through step number 3 at all. And so I've done this exact move with coyotes. Funny story, which I'm sure I'll get into at some other point. I've done this to the drug coyotes of in
Actual,
Big Bend.
not the animals.
not the animal.
The immigrants. I was
That's
20 feet
hilarious.
away from a line of drug smugglers in Big Bend. It's one of my favorite stories to tell for another day. But I did basically the same thing.
running
And
towards them with your
so-
arms out going, oh, but no, we'll get to the real
Yes.
story later. But yes, yeah, that's
Yes.
awesome. I love
That
this.
did happen.
That is
So
amazing.
I've done it towards coyotes and everything. And you guys would be happy to find out it works. I saved the chicken. It scares the coyotes, both the 4-legged and the 2-legged. So
See,
it
Rebecca,
works.
if
You guys are
if you
welcome
ever
to
get in
try
trouble out there in
I'm just gonna
Pacific Northwest,
Call
just,
me.
just run
Yeah.
screaming, arms out. That video
It
reminded
works.
me. Clearly. Have you guys ever seen that movie? I think it was called The Big Green. It's from back in the 90s. And it opens up, it's about a soccer team and that's like failing. And then it opens up, you have these kids, they have this big bag of Cheetos and they're pouring it on themselves and laying down so that the birds come in and like eat the Cheetos off of them. They're having a great time with it. But this lady drives up. She sees it. She thinks the kids are being attacked and she
that's hilarious.
leaps out of her car, runs over, arms out like Renee was, screaming at the birds to get them off the kids. It was just
Renee,
It
I feel like
works.
that was a
You
missed
got the
opportunity
memo.
for you.
That's
If you would have
amazing.
put in for that part, I think you would have gotten it.
yes.
If only this happened 20 years ago. You know,
This is a really
with
old
the
movie.
power of TikTok. Yeah.
Which
my
now calls
goodness.
into question Rebecca's movie choice.
This is a really old movie.
And I it was
Like
in my
Vandy Films.
childhood movie.
Who's in it, Ray?
The kids from Sandlot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Yeah, and they're still kids in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Steve Guttenberg,
Nice.
he's in there. Who else? I don't know. I'm looking at YouTube right now. There's a trailer, but the trailer is in such low definition that I don't even want to play it.
No,
That's
it
how
was
long ago it
20
was.
years ago.
It was probably
From
ripped
the
right
90s.
from a VHS tape.
Right.
That's so great.
That's awesome.
So how did you get into chickens?
Oh my God.
Like, what decisions
The
led you
obvious
to this point in
question.
your life?
Everybody wants to know who's listening.
Well, when we were growing up, we grew up in a suburb in Shirts in like, you know, in a neighborhood with an HOA. And we had chickens there. We were not supposed to, but we were wild and we said, I would like some chickens, please. And so we got some. And ever since then, I've wanted to have chickens again. And my husband, you know, once I moved out here we're in Marion and we're on 5 acres. Once we came out here, I think it was my sister surprised me for my birthday with chickens. And you know, what a great birthday present is just unloading a responsibility on somebody else. And so we were forced back into chickens, but we've had them ever since. And a lot of people will send me chicken videos and they will like refer to me as like a chicken mom. I really think they're more like, most of them don't have names. They're cool and all, but we go through a lot, you know, the hawks, the coyotes. On my TikTok, I actually have a really cool video of the bobcat taking one of the chickens. Sad, but happens.
Rebecca's traumatized.
It's like Wild Kingdom over here. Watching Animal
Nature
Planet
is
in your
metal.
background.
I mean, very, very true. But we have outdoor cats. So in my mind, I would rather hawks and coyotes take the chickens than the cats. And so we just we usually have about 15 to 20 at any time. And every year we'll get like a new batch of like 10 or so and just kind of keep recycling through the flock. I think they're really fun. They're really easy. We've set it up to where their coop is automated with solar power and an automatic door. So
Wow.
they're really easy and they take care of themselves.
Bougie chickens.
I'm a little conflicted as to just we just cycle through, and as long as we
It's a
keep
circle
about
of life
20,
type of situation.
they
there.
usually don't last
Listen,
long
you
enough
have
for me
to
to learn their
decat
names. You know,
At some point. We've
Could-
only butchered a few of them.
do you guys?
Animals have butchered the rest.
Does everybody on the call
Very
know who
true.
Karen Carr is?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, name's
Karen,
familiar.
when she bought her new house out in the country, she has chickens now. Her chicken life as a chicken mom seems very different. They have names, and she talks to them, and they give
Oh
her
my
these
goodness.
beautiful, like multicolored eggs, and they're cared for in a nice protected space. Whereas you just kind of let nature happen right in front of you
I will
and
push back
videotape
on
it
that.
for your social media exposure.
Is Karen former military?
Yes. No, but I think she does have very much military clients.
Yeah,
So
She does,
mine
yes.
are very well cared for. They are protected at night, but they also free range during the day. And I mean, I'm out in the country. It is what it is. I was raised around animals. Like, animals have different hierarchy, and chicken, to me, to each their own. But to me, chickens fall below cats and dogs, and they don't have names for a reason. Well, a couple of them have names. Taco is the rooster. And then we just kind of, every once in a while they'll get names, but for the most part, we have 5 red ones that look exactly the same. I'm not going to name them.
I agree with you. Chickens are below cats and dogs, and there is a hierarchy to animals and how much we care about them. As horrible as that may sound to some people, it is what it is.
It is
I
what
eat
it
them.
is.
So
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean
They're
they're
great.
delicious.
meat.
So,
I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm pro differentiation between meat animals and not.
Yeah. And I actually have gotten business. We have a San Antonio Facebook chicken group, the San Antonio Backyard Chickens. I have gotten business from that group for real estate. Anytime that I have a client that has a coop on their property, I'm over there like, yeah, that house is great. But does the coop convey? Would you like
Will you
would
leave
you
the
like to sell
chickens?
the chickens? I have negotiated a flock of chickens in contracts before. Absolutely.
That's nice.
Wow.
Residential, or was it out on land?
I mean, it was a manufactured home on an acre.
Yeah.
And I actually do keep up. So this is like where, you don't have those personal and professional boundaries, as none of us do. My free time, I keep up with things. Like there's actually a bill in the Texas House right now called the Chicken Bill, where they are trying to make it illegal for HOAs to say that you can't have a certain amount of chickens and a certain amount of rabbits, because we went through the pandemic and chickens got really popular. Listen, there was a boom of everything in the pandemic. There was a boom of people getting chickens. So there was a scarcity of incubators and supplies at Tractor Supply. And the chickens, they sell them at Tractor Supply as little babies. You would go in there and there'd just be lines of people early in the pandemic, especially when egg prices were going up, of people that there was this big boom of people that wanted to have chickens. And so they introduced legislation of allowing chickens in HOAs as long as you follow certain parameters. But I mean, I'm up to date on all the laws in San Antonio on how many you can have and the things about the coops and all that stuff. It's a fun party trick, fun rabbit hole to go down in front of other
Rabbit hole.
clients. It's fun chicken hole to go down. Yeah.
I guess
My
you could say
HOA
birds
does
of
not
a
allow it.
feather. Your HOA didn't allow it?
Anything
Well-
that has to be kept outside, they don't consider a pet. That's a farm animal, and
so
we're not allowed to have
livestock.
farm animals. Now, if you have a pet pig and he sleeps inside, you're good to go. But
Oh
if
my
you
goodness.
have pigs outside, no bueno.
So we have unwritten rules in Arkansas. And one of the unwritten rules is if you want a chicken coop, you can have one, but you got to pay off your neighbors. So you got to supply eggs for like everyone around you. And if you do that, nobody's going to say a word. And also don't get the rooster. So that's kind of like, residential areas. So we want a small flock, but we got bees first. So we're learning the bees and we have all that stuff
There you
going
go.
on.
The intro. It's the gateway drug to homesteading is bees and chickens.
My grandfather had this like bamboo stand on the back of his property. And in that he had beehives. And I didn't know about it growing up. I just knew they always had honey. And for whatever reason, there was always like one dead bee in the honey. And that's how you knew it was real. I don't know why. They put the honeycomb in there too. And sometimes they get up there and Mama and Papa didn't care. So I remember going back and checking his bees with him and all that kind of stuff. And so now that's what we're doing with our backyard. But eventually we'll have the chickens. But you got to you kind of want to take on one thing at a time. Because if you add them all, then they're kind of in conflict.
Then
everybody's
people
all
will
nervous
notice.
about it. And also people will notice, We do have to tell our people, hey, when we have this company called Mosquito Joe that'll come and spray for mosquitoes. And so we have to tell our street, like, if you hire them to come spray your yard, let us know, because we can close up the hive for a day and then we'll let them back out after that stuff is all settled, because that'll kill your bees too. So if you spray for mosquitoes in your yard, there is a version of the mosquito stuff and it doesn't work as good, but it's bee friendly. Just a pro tip, since we're on livestock. And
we don't get that mosquito treatment. We don't get it out here because we have down the street from me, we have the Register Family Bee Farm, and they are like one of the largest distributors of Tupelo honey in the country. Like they ship their bees to California for the almond farms and everything. Like they're a big deal. So they don't.
So not only do they ship honey, they ship the bees themselves. That's cool.
Ship the bees themselves, yeah. So we get eaten by mosquitoes, so they can have their bee farm.
Yeah, get some martins.
Small price to pay. Save the bees.
Small price to pay.
We just don't have
chickens.
Mosquitoes here in Washington. So.
Yeah, but you also don't have sunny days.
Lucky.
So
The sun is out right now. Okay, it's blue skies, sun, high of like 69. It's perfect fall day.
Ooh,
Nice.
high? Did you say high?
a high
Yeah.
of 69. Yeah.
The high is 69.
I think it was 69 when I woke up this morning.
Were you cold?
No, it felt great.
Okay, exactly. It's perfect time.
That's
So,
funny.
Renee, are you seeing an uptick in people wanting to do like more of that homesteading stuff in your area?
Or has it calmed down since
Yes.
after the pandemic comparatively?
Comparatively, it has slowed down a little bit, but I feel like that was a very upfront conversation that I was having with all of my clients, especially if they were coming from out of state. That was in my list of questions in a buyer consultation. Do you want to do any homesteading? Because I've had clients that are like,
Interesting.
yeah, we want to raise goats, we want to raise chickens. It's like, okay, that changes the whole search, but I know what to look for. So anything around that, I, with most of my clients coming from social media, I usually have a little bit of an idea, but it is something that I keep top of mind, because if I can get somebody into chickens through real estate, huge win. I love that.
It's like a bonus.
That's a good
Yes.
point. I'm actually making a note right now to add that to our buyer consult, because in Arkansas, we're the natural state. We get a lot of people moving to our state from out of state, and they're usually pretty green, and they want to be self-sustained in a lot of ways. So asking about homesteading up front, it's really smart.
Yeah, because a lot of clients won't even know to bring that up, because what a terrible thing to buy a property thinking that you can do this stuff. I actually did have a client that early on in my career, they bought a home and their plans were to have chickens there, but they never brought that up to me, and I've never asked. I was fairly new. And after we closed, they're like, hey, we can't have chickens here. I'm like, you never said anything about that. Of course, but it was in the deed
Wow.
restrictions that they couldn't have chickens, so they were really disappointed. So yeah, we learned the hard way. That's how I learned. But yeah, it was definitely something I asked in the beginning now.
When I used to own my own brokerage, I'd have agents that wanted to work some of the outskirts of the area and, sell a farm or something like that. And they would always say, like, I don't understand why, you have to be a farm specialist to sell this. I think I can do it. And I would say, that's fine. Well, tell me about how many cow days grass there are. And they're like, what? I said, how many cow days
Exactly.
grass? And they're like, I don't know what you mean. I'm like, okay, that's why you need to find a landman. But I do think there's this like middle ground person that is a homesteader, but they want to live kind of close to an urban area. They may want only an acre of land or a small amount of land. They're fine living in a subdivision as long as the subdivision will allow them to do what they want. I think that's becoming a very popular position and a niche that a lot of people can kind of go after. And it's almost like you have this specialist that the neighborhoods that will allow you to have the chickens, the neighborhoods that will allow you to have the livestock or the bees or whatever. And then those that don't. You just kind of have this like hidden thing. And then when somebody says yes, you're like, oh, it's like a whole new
I know
world. Let
exactly
me show
what
it.
you
Yes.
need.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I love that.
Well, it's not even the animals like the bees and the chickens. Like I get a lot of questions the last 2-3 years of just could they plant vegetables in their front yard. Like we
Oh, that's
don't have
interesting.
much of a backyard, but we have this big front yard. Can we plant vegetables? Can we turn it into a vegetable garden? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. What are you, crazy?
Yeah.
Because
And then they're
the
going to
HOA
look at you
won't let
sideways.
Yeah.
Because that's a really popular growing thing now too. Of
Yeah.
course, because of that chicken video, I'm in the algorithm on TikTok of people that do that.
Yeah.
And so like there's this whole movement of turning lawns into
Yeah.
more natural landscaping. And that is a bill. And that's why it's so important to keep up with the legislation regarding real estate changes, is that's a bill that did pass through Texas that allowed people to have, like you said, vegetable gardens in their front yard, and HOAs can't say, hey, you can't have a garden in your front yard, because it's like, this is my front yard. Who are you to say what I can and can't do? It's better than a
Yeah.
broken down car.
Right. I get this grass
Well,
I got to mow every week and fertilize and all this kind of
Which
stuff.
are
So it's
mostly
just,
non-native. Yeah.
Right.
And they're taking up
Mhm.
so much water, and they're not
Yep.
doing anything for the soil.
Monoculture.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Non-native
flowers for the
monocultures
bees.
are taking over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at us sound like a bunch of tree huggers in here.
Just wasting dihydrogen monoxide. So that's water, by the way. So I agree. I think you should be able to put vegetables in your front yard until you see someone's front yard, about October, and they've had a vegetable garden, and it looks atrocious, especially when they're letting it die back naturally so they could till it in or something like that.
Yeah.
That is the one like ouch part of that where I agree. I love the philosophy. I love the strategy. But then if they're letting stuff die on the vine out there, the number of field mice and stuff like that, the number of pests. So I think you should be able to do that. But if you do that in your front yard, surely there's some kind of like guardrails they could put up. Like you got to maintain it. You can't just like, oh, we're growing pasture grasses. And it's like, like 10-foot grass
just
out there.
they put guidelines around everything else,
Yeah.
how tall your grass can be and everything. So just,
Well, there was this bright idea to turn all the ornamental trees in a city to fruit trees. And I can't remember the city that did it, but there was a city that did it. They planted mature fruit trees around.
read about this recently. Yeah.
And it was great. But they were basically saying, well, homeless can go and just pick fruit just whenever, right? It just grows around the city. So they could it was a great idea until the city
In theory.
didn't change how they maintain trees.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of like going around the trees and picking up all the fruit and stuff that dropped them, it was there. So it looked like a disaster, like a wasteland, and it stunk because of all the rotten food and all this other. So basically they
flies and everything.
Yeah. Flies, pests, mice, and then whatever eats mice. So snakes, the uptick in rats, all that stuff was happening. So I think it's a good idea, but you also have to change how you maintain it. You can't just say we're allowing it, especially if you're a city and you want to put that. I think it's a wonderful idea, but then you actually have to train people to like maintain it.
Yeah. You got to think past just putting the fruit tree in and then,
Right. Fortunately, there wasn't enough homeless that was that hungry to pick their own fruit, I guess. I don't know.
Well, like most things that the government does, it's missing a few key elements.
Not very well thought out. Yeah.
But Rick and Renee were in the military. They're not familiar with anything like that. Those are well-oiled machines.
Hey, I don't know about the Air Force. The Navy is a well-oiled fighting machine. There was no problems in the U.S. Navy at all.
At all, ever.
He said with his eyes completely not rolling in the back of his head.
As he sips.
For our
sips
audio
the tea.
only listeners.
That's funny. So why do you have a separate account for your ranch? What are you doing with that?
I wasn't doing anything with it
Just for
until it
fun?
went viral. I mean, yeah, it was just home movies for fun. Had it for years. The Bobcat video on there was the first one that I put on that did okay. And I have interesting stuff happens out here. I want to share it when I can. But
So
yeah,
it's just
I
it was just a fun thing. And then it's turned into more, obviously. Do people
No,
on
it
there know
hasn't-
that you're a realtor or you haven't ever said anything?
I put my link on there. I went around, and this happened earlier this year in like March or something. And so I really thought about how I could build the two. And then because I spend a lot of time researching and studying all social media stuff. And, it just turned into, I didn't want another thing that I love in my personal time to turn into work. And so it just lives on its own. It's organic. It's really fun that other realtors and other people, my friends on Facebook, know that this happened. But otherwise, I don't really have that big of a drive to want to turn that channel into anything real estate. Because they're all people there for chicken content or funny content.
Yeah.
They're not local to the area. So it's not my ideal clients anyway.
Are you an influencer in that space now? Do you collect monies from your views over there?
We got a little bit of money from that video, like a couple $100, but it's definitely not like a income stream.
It'll
No.
replace a chicken or two.
You were
Yeah.
paid. That makes you a professional TikToker.
Yeah, you're an actual influencer
I'm a
now.
content creator.
That's right.
Yes.
Very
I was looking at the numbers surrounding
Get
it.
a
Did you?
t-shirt.
You should do an influencer T-shirt with a big chicken on it.
right.
So you had 41 million views on that one. The one before that had 481. The one before that had 217. The one before that 146. The one before that 105. The one before that 84, 66, 61, 50. Did those pop off when the 41 million hit, or did you already have, hundreds of thousands on the others as well?
No, once that I posted that one that went viral with 41 million, the Bobcat video had like 30,000 views on it organically by itself. And then I put up a couple other ones, but they didn't take off until I posted the chicken video that went viral. So that was all just activity from TikTok, sending people to my profile and them seeing the other videos. So it was a catalyst for the other ones to have a lot of views.
That's wild. And your Bobcat one has a mature content warning on it too.
Oh, does it? Yeah, because it's violent.
It's so violent. I would show it, but then we would put a mature content warning on our show too. So I'm not going to show that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're very mature.
We should probably.
Yeah, we need
Very
to immature content.
Because of
Immature-
you, Rebecca.
That would be funny. I need to create like a graphic that looks like a mature content warning and have it be an immature content warning.
So, Renee, do you play any instruments?
Oh, yes.
Oh, not a single one.
Do you sing?
No.
Are you in a band?
I would not claim it.
How did you get on this podcast?
That's true.
I don't know.
The history of our
I've-
guests have been very musical.
No, I do have this tattoo that a lot of people mistake for a banjo. That is as musical as it gets.
Looks like a mandolin. What is it?
It's a key.
Oh, it's a key. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
For
that's
real
cool.
estate, or did you get it before real estate? Okay.
In my obsessive years of real estate, I did get it.
Wait, there are non-obsessive years? When does that happen?
About 2021, when burnout happens.
Yeah.
But did you get any tattoos at the brokerage that you're with?
Not
Throughout the
yet,
years.
but
Shots
I have
fired,
been
Bob.
floating one. We'll see at Rise if I
Oh.
show up with one.
That'd be rad.
Ooh.
Anyone else here have one with the brokerage?
I don't even have it. I want tattoos. I don't even have a single one.
Yeah,
You
neither
should-
of these
oh,
guys
I
have
float-
tattoos.
We're going to get the
I-
podcast name full sleeve down our arms.
That's right. I'll get
Real
Rebecca
random.
and
Really
Rick's
good
face
start.
on my arm.
Just we could do our faces and then real random all
Yeah,
around.
that'll be
Yeah,
great.
that's
Perfect.
exactly what I want to have on my body.
my face.
May I suggest a teardrop, but instead of the teardrop, it's a little house silhouette,
Oh,
just
yeah.
so that people know. You put it
You
out
get-
there. all
Just
at
so
the
you know
beginning.
how sad you are that you're
It's
real.
You
very
can get
classy.
one for each time that you hit elite.
There you go. my representation of that was going to be much darker, so I'm glad we went there.
I do have a friend that tends to sell murder homes, by the way. He's
That's a really good
Yeah.
for them.
like, you know
That's where I was
houses
gonna
that have
go
had
with that.
murders and stuff in them. He's like has clients that want to buy them.
We
Isn't
just
that
don't
funny?
talk about that stuff in Florida.
What an interesting niche to have.
Yeah. Well, you
Right.
can find out about it even if it's not disclosed. You find out about them through the news, and they're like, oh, let's go take a look at this one. He's like, oh, okay. He looks it up. Sure enough, double homicide.
Wow.
Is it because they're wanting to continue the history of that house? Like that's what my concern would be. Is
the
like,
deal.
why do you want a
Looking
murder
for
house?
motivation.
It's the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the deal. You get a better deal on them. They sell generally in this area. They sell a little less because
People don't want to live in a murder house.
that's right.
I can see why.
For some people, not
We
military,
have standards.
they kind of don't like the dying.
Someone has died everywhere. Let's be real. So
Maybe, but I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Texas has had a lot of that. There was
For
like a whole,
sure. Had their
whole
fair share.
war.
Well, I
revolution,
mean, we just came through this whole pandy where so many people died in their home. That's going to be
that's
we'll
true.
see that more and more.
I think when you call it the pandy, it makes it sound a little lighter.
So, I mean, the reason
Let's
the
erase
reason
the
why
trauma with the pandy.
so I'm used to the other show I do is broadcast live, and if you say the word pandemic,
Oh,
it'll instantly demonetize, cut your views, all that kind of stuff.
You've
So.
learned a vernacular to
Work around.
Yeah,
skirt
and now I
the
just say
algorithm.
pandy, which it's fine until you're explaining the market to a client, and you say the word after the
an
pandy, and they're
adult.
like,
Yeah, and they're like, "What?"
and then I have to tell them, actually, sorry, I know I'm not broadcasting live.
Sorry,
right
I
now, but it
got
just
that
gets
from TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'm an influencer, so
Well, guys,
Someone
it has
was
been
unalived here.
someone is unalived here.
Renee, I know you are super, super busy. Because
gotta go.
You're emailing me and texting me constantly about real military.
I have to get back
so
on to
we don't wanna-
bother more people.
We don't want
you
to
go.
take up all of your day, but does anyone have any last minute things? Or Renee, you want to share anything? Anything big happening in Renee's world you want to share?
Besides
Well,
the
the
tattoo
biggest-
with the brokerage logo, besides that,
That is gonna be a surprise, I guess. Find me at Real to ask, or at Rise to see if I did it. I'm trying to get my husband to team up with
Oh,
me
that
on
would be
that one as
rad.
well. Biggest thing happening in my life is this Real military division. So if you have anybody that wants to be a part of it, definitely reach out to Rick or I, and we'd be happy to spin them up and see what we can help them with.
That's cool.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
will probably be reaching out to you guys because we do have JBLM that's right here. And that is something that's like always in my heart. I kind of was like unsure if I should ask because I'm not personally military. All my grandfathers were. And I was like, well, is this something that I should reserve for people who have actually served? Because I don't want to take up their space, you know?
I
But
think
if it's
Sharon
right.
said it best when he said that it's military first. So it's not that you have to be military exclusive. You just have to have a passion for serving the military. And so you're
That's cool.
marketing to them, you're trying to help them. Like you have a military first mentality, like you're really going to do everything you can to help them. But of course, you can do all the other stuff too. So it's not
That's great.
exclusive, just military
Yeah.
first.
In a lot of ways, underserved, a super underserved community.
Mhm.
And there's so many sharks that are in that community that are out to take advantage of them.
Mhm.
And that's the
So,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm, I would love to get more involved because
Yeah.
I can name the sharks for you, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, every veteran should have the opportunity to buy a piece of the land that they helped swore to protect. So if
Absolutely.
you
100%.
if you are a vet or you know a vet, encourage them to use a zero down VA loan. It is a fantastic benefit, and it's really, really easy and not as scary as people make it out to be.
Yeah.
Another
Renee, were
time,
you one of the people who like spearheaded this new division within Real? Like, how did this come about?
Yes, Rick and I and a few other folks are on like a leadership team, and so they approached us earlier this year about standing up the division. So it's literally us every week in a meeting going, okay, what are we doing next? How are we helping this group grow? And so it is agent by agents for agents.
Yeah,
Some
they
of
had a
us
big
are-
like, hey, let's do this. And then they said, okay, now you guys do it.
Now you guys do it. Yeah. So we're doing
that's
it.
fun.
We're doing it
Yeah.
though.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Will you guys reach out to Renee? Renee, where do you want people to find you? You got a lot of different outlets, but where can they connect with you best?
The best place is probably email Renee at soldbyzunker.com.
Yeah, but you don't want just a bunch of random emails from random listeners of the podcast. Where do you want people to like follow your journey?
Santa Clara Ranch. No.
Yeah, Santa Clara Ranch is cool. That's where the chicken chasing is. But
Mhm.
The best place is probably, I'm not as active on Instagram as I should be, but Facebook, surprisingly, you can follow people now on Facebook. So come
Yeah, that's
follow
true.
me on Facebook. Mhm. The only other Renee Zunker that I know is my mother-in-law, and she's not on Facebook. So Renee Zunker, you'll find me.
Nice. Thanks for joining
Awesome.
us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. You guys are a fun bunch.
We'll see
I'll
you at
see you.
Rise.
See you
See you
soon.
guys.
Bye.
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 She's fun. That's
Yeah.
cool.
No, she's awesome. So we were talking about how kind of like the Real military division started. I mean, they put a kind of a call to action out like, hey, who wants to be involved? And I think there was like 6 or 7 of us that raised our hands. So it was like Sharon, and he brought somebody in, and then there was all the guys from Century Real Estate, Dan and all those guys.
Yeah.
And then me and Renee and Brian Rodriguez. And so we're all in there like, yeah, this is going to be great. We had like 2 calls with everybody. And then after that, it was like people just started kind of like
Now you
fading
got
off
to
a
do
little
the
bit.
work. Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, well, what kind of support do we have? What kind of budget do we have? We're like, well, you guys can figure it out. Like,
Yeah. Budget. What do you mean budget?
Yeah.
This was
So-
just a workplace group, right?
and that's what we didn't want it to become was
Yeah.
a workplace group. So
Yeah.
thankfully, Renee has really kind of taken the reins and stepped up as, like I said, she's like the one I see, like the CEO of the group. So
Mhm.
she's taking the reins, and yeah,
Yeah, I
nice.
saw her post earlier today in Workplace where she's like, if you need like a reference to somebody who specializes with VA anywhere in the country, let me know and I'll get you connected with the right agent. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
because
cool.
we have like 350 agents in the group
Mhm.
who have been vetted as having what we call a first tier military association. So they're either veterans, active duty, spouses, retirees. and have experience. They're not green. They know what they're doing. They understand.
Yeah.
So we've got 350 people around the country right now, and we just started the division.
Nice.
So if you've got someone moving anywhere, CONUS, I mean, I'm sure we have people that support that base.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I think I would be second tier since I'm grandfathered in.
Well, you could
Literally
be that-
grandfathered in,
you could be
right?
Exactly.
You could be that passionate patriot.
Exactly. I am a
You know,
passionate patriot.
See, there you go. But yeah, no, she's great. I've gotten to know Renee a lot more since we've been doing Real Military. So she's good.
That's fun.
Nice.
Good show. Good guess.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All
All right.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.